Tracking calories versus tracking macros. This is Gen Pop Nutrition Education 101. Now, I personally believe that in order to achieve any specific goal, the actions, the method, the strategy, and the accuracy of all the above actually matter. So what is the best strategy for progression in terms of building muscle and losing body fat? I'm going to talk to you about that today. I'm also going to give you a free How to Track Your Macros ebook. I'm also going to give you macronutrients to start out with if you happen to be a calorie counter right now and you're looking for a more exact method that's ultimately going to help you reach your goal and get to your goal a little bit faster. So inside of this video, we're going to be talking about 4 specific considerations. Number 1 is going to be the inconsistency and food monitoring of just tracking calories. The other one's going to be nutrient ratios and the potential effects of those nutrients. The other one's going to be the probability of a very low protein, excessively high fat diet if you're only tracking calories. And then the other one is going to be what is the effect that these specific macronutrients, fat, carbs, protein, fiber, have on body composition. Let's go ahead and let's dive in, okay? Now, macros and calories are directly interconnected, so you can't necessarily separate the camps. You can't say, oh, I just track calories or I just track macros, because if you're tracking calories, well, guess what? Without knowing it, you're actually accumulating a base subset of macronutrients, okay? Now, tracking total calories is a great first step for any Education 101 individual that just wants to learn more about their body. They want to learn more about their health. They want to start to track their calories because they've noticed that if they don't track their calories, they can work out as hard as they want to and nothing happens. And if nothing changes, nothing changes, right? So I think it's a really good first step for a lot of people. Just start tracking your calories. Start where you are. Start with something that you know is not going to overwhelm you. Now, eventually you're going to get to a point where the tracking calories even maybe doesn't work as good as you thought. Maybe you had a goal of building muscle, losing body fat, but you're noticing you're maybe not building muscle as fast as you thought, in which then we need to start to think about some more important considerations, such as the thermic effect of various foods and those foods' effects on our physiology. Taking into consideration something like the muscle protein synthetic response, we know that a high protein diet is going to yield you the opportunity to build some more muscle, right, and potentially lose body fat at the same time, experiencing something that is known as a phenomenon called body recomposition, which probably wouldn't happen if you were just tracking calories on a low protein intake, but it very would likely happen if you were tracking your macronutrients with a high protein intake or a protein intake that is based off of some evidence-based ranges, okay? Now, not all calorie sources are created equal. The specific macros that you choose can affect the thermic effect of feeding, okay? So what is TEF and why does it even matter? Take into consideration, maybe you decide to eat a bag of Sour Patch Kids because you're tracking your calories and you say, oh, I have the flexibility because I'm just tracking my calories. No matter what I eat, I'm tracking my calories. I just can't go over this arbitrary, maybe 2,000 calorie goal. But how could we then compare a bag of Sour Patch Kids to maybe a baked potato or a bowl of oatmeal or something like that, and the calories are equated? I think everybody here would know that there's a greater thermic effect of feeding if I was to eat the potato or the oatmeal. And you can still eat some candy and stuff like that if you're tracking your macronutrients, but I think oftentimes individuals just get so caught up in just tracking the calories that they forget about the quality of the food and the nutrients, specifically the micronutrients that they're actually putting in their body. Now, calories in and calories out, you've heard this before, CICO, calories in, calories out needs to basically be a standardized approach to weight loss, but the ratio of the tissue in which muscle you're gaining, fat you're losing, that can be dramatically manipulated based off of the nutrients you're putting in your body, okay? Now, calories in, calories out, it is the law of thermodynamics. It is a true system. If you're not losing body fat, you're not in the calorie deficit. So then we have to investigate, okay, well, why am I not losing body fat? What are the considerations? So you want to consider nutrient quality. It matters, okay? Like I said before, single ingredient food items versus hyper palatable foods and their quality, that matters. So just take into consideration the fact that maybe 80–90% of the foods that you eat should be single ingredient foods that you can get from the outside perimeter of the supermarket, okay? outside, not out of a box, not out of a bag, but from the outside of this grocery market, things that are fresh and single ingredients going to be the best staple of what I could recommend from a food quality perspective. If your goal is to build more lean body mass, then you need to be able to standardize protein. Okay, we talked about that a little bit. If your goal is to maintain good cholesterol and hormone health, well, guess what? Healthy dietary fats are going to be very important for you as well. So if you were just tracking your calories, you could have a day where you have 150 grams of fat. You could then have a day where you're down to 50 grams of fat. And because they're so inconsistent, likely your weight would be very inconsistent, but likely your body would also be inconsistent because it's not getting a steady stream of the healthy fats, carbohydrates, or protein that it needs on a daily basis to be consistent. And this is one of the biggest problems that I see with individuals that are just tracking their calories is their weight's actually inconsistent. And then they're like, wow, I'm tracking my calories. Why is my weight inconsistent? Because one day you had 250 grams of carbs, the next day you had 50 grams of carbs, and then you're back up to maybe 180, 190 because you're hungry, and then you're right back down and you feel bad because you ate too much yesterday. So having some level of consistency and standardizing your carbohydrate, protein, fat, and fiber intake is going to be extremely valuable. Now, if your goal is to maintain athletic performance in the gym, I think having carbohydrate management is going to be very important. So if I say eat 200 grams of carbohydrates per day, you're not 400, 50, 200, 300, 100. You're not all over the place, but you are standardized across the board. It's even keel. So that way, again, you can start to develop some habits and a system around what your body truly needs to be able to function. Now, if you've made it this far in the video, chances are you're pretty interested in tracking macros and you want to learn how to track them. Well, guess what? We've got a brand new free ebook for you available on the website, theeducateddietr.com. It is absolutely free for you to go there. You can download it. You can read all about how to track your macros, okay? Now, how would you prioritize body composition? In order to prioritize your health and body composition, you would want to track macronutrients, not just calories. Now, an example of this would be very similar to this. Say, for instance, we give you 2,000 calories. You can do whatever you want with it. And maybe on day one, you have 100 grams of fat, 225 grams of carbs, 50 grams of protein, which gives you 2,000 calories. On day two, you have 150 grams of fat because those avocados and that oil and all the fried stuff looked amazing. But then your carbs were around 100 and your protein was at 65, which still gives you 2,000 calories. Now, if I was to take that 2,000 calorie number and break it down into something that would logically make sense from an evidence-based perspective and give your body what it actually needs to be able to experience the body recomposition that you want, which is building muscle, losing body fat, it'd probably look something like this. Maybe around 55, 60, maybe 50 to 60 grams of fat, 225 grams of carbohydrates, and 150 grams of protein. If you are a woman or if you're a man that's eating a low protein diet, this wouldn't be a bad place to start. Most of the time, I'd recommend about a gram of protein per pound of lean body mass or ideal weight for the individual. And think about that. If you just track 55 grams of fat, 225 carbs, 150 protein, every single day, what do you have? You have consistency. And then with consistency, you can then kind of eliminate any errors from occurring, which could happen if you're just tracking your calories and one day your carbs are up at 300, the next day your carbs are at 100, and your protein is never accurate or where it's supposed to be to optimize the muscle protein synthetic response that you would need to be able to build the muscle that you want, okay? So hopefully this was very helpful. We really appreciate you guys being here. Obviously, ever since we started this series, kind of getting this back up and running, there's been a tremendous amount of engagement. So if you're finding this information massively helpful, share it with somebody, let people know what's going on, let them know where they can get real knowledge, real education, real experience. We appreciate you. God bless you. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.